Johnson Ferry has always been a church of relationships. One of those relationships that I remember most is that with Orman Power. Mr. Power and his brother-in-law owned most of the property south of our church campus. In the late 90s, as Johnson Ferry was continuing to grow and having need to expand and acquire additional property to do that, Mr. Orman was the one we went to see. One day he looked me square in the eye and he said, "You people are trying to scam me." Well, that was the end of that. Nevertheless, Johnson Ferry had to do something. We went back to the church. The church approved the development of a parking deck, which was very expensive. And so we began that process of developing those plans. But the very next week, Mr. Orman's heart softened. He came to us and offered to sell us 6 acres that would enable us to continue our building expansion. During the groundbreaking ceremony of that, we had a tent set up behind the church, of which we had worship one Sunday. Mr. Orman and Miss Ernestine were there, and Bryant introduced them, and much to their surprise, the church gave them a spontaneous standing ovation. That very event touched Mr. Orman, and it began a relationship that will not be forgotten. Over the years, we have acquired 16 acres from Mr. Orman for our ball fields, for the youth house, and now the powerhouse, all to be used for the glory of God. It was all because of a relationship. I would see Mr. Orman in the garden as I would pass by, and sometimes I would stop and we would just talk. It's amazing how you can get to know someone picking tomatoes with them and scrounging around looking for cucumbers and squash. But we had a great time. You know, a few years before his death, Mr. Orman moved his letter to Johnson Ferry. He loved this church. He loved the Lord. He had a relationship with Jesus Christ, and that's what it's all about. So as we think back over the years, and we see how God has truly been greater than all of our plans, I thank you, Mr. Orman, and to God be the glory.